Determine what you want to do by clicking the drop-down arrow. Narrow your selection in the next column and then click Learn More to find exactly what you are looking for. You can use this feature to adopt a pet, pay your water bill, learn more about what the parish has to offer, find employment, and more. You can also use our new and improved Smart Search tool. Once you search a term, you can filter your search down by department, content type, and more to get exactly what you are looking for. Our homepage features some of the most visited pages on our website. Be sure to explore news, the calendar, SCP alerts, SCP TV, and our social media sites as well. Analytics show more people visiting our site on a mobile device than ever before. That is why it was crucial that we create a user-friendly experience for both desktop and mobile users. To achieve this, we now use large buttons on all of our pages, making finding information, forms, and other links easier as well. Additionally, all pages on the site are responsive and viewable on mobile devices. The new St. Charles Parish website was redesigned with our residents in mind. Come and experience stcharlesparish.gov today.
Good evening and welcome to the St. Charles Parish Council meeting on Monday, May 16, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the council chambers in the parish courthouse. Please silence all electronic devices and remove all hats. This meeting is called to order with a prayer and a pledge of allegiance from Reverend Marilyn Diggs with the Mount Zion Community Church and Boutique.
Let us pray. Father, we come in the name of Jesus, just grateful and thankful for this day that you have given unto us, O Lord. And God, we pray, O Lord, that you would just bless this meeting tonight. We pray, Lord, that you would just put all things in order. And we pray that you would just let all things work together for good. We thank you, Lord God, for the council. We ask, oh God, that you would just bless our branch of government, that they can work together for the good of you. And Lord Jesus, you said in your word that all men should live peaceably. And we ask that you would just let us live together in unity with you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Diggs. Okay, a motion and a second is needed to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of May 2nd, 2022. Technical difficulty. Okay. Do raise a hand.
I'll motion. I second.
I have a motion by Ms. Fonseca, second by Ms. Billings. Please cast your votes. And that motion passes unanimously. Okay, special business, proclamations, canvass returns, etc. 2022-0140, a proclamation, Gospel Music Festival Weekend. Mr. Dufresne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Proclamation, Mount Zion Community Church in Booty is holding their 25th annual musical festival on May 28 and 29, 2022, and whereas Mount Zion Community Church, headed by Pastor Charles Johnson Sr., invites everyone to come and enjoy a day of delicious food and be entertained by a host of gospel, music, and entertainment from visiting choirs. Now therefore be it resolved, we the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President do hereby proclaim May 28th and 29th, 2022 as Mount Zion's Community Church's Gospel Musical Festival Weekend in St. Charles Parish, and encourage all citizens to attend the festival at the West Bank Bridge Park in Luling, Louisiana. Ms. Diggs is here to accept this. And what time is it? We don't have the time. What time does it get started? 12 to 7. 12 to 7.
Right, 2022-0141, a proclamation, Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. Mr. Jewell.
Proclamation, whereas Alzheimer's disease. Thank you, Chairman. Proclamation, whereas Alzheimer's disease is a type of brain disease that causes damage to the nerve cells in the brain. It is the most common cause of dementia and general term for memory and a general term for memory loss and other cognitive abilities serious enough to interfere with daily life. And whereas Alzheimer's is a progressive disease where dementia symptoms gradually worsen over a number of years. In its early stages, memory loss is mild, but in its late stages, individuals lose the ability to carry on a conversation and respond to their environment. And whereas Alzheimer's is currently ranked as the 6th leading cause of death in the United States, approximately 6.5 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's, and by the year 2050, that number could rise as high as 13 million. And whereas with elderly detection and diagnosis, individuals and their families can gain access to treatments, medications which may help preserve daily functioning for some time. They can enroll in a critical research trials, fully participate in planning for the future, and receive help and support from the Alzheimer's Association. And whereas there's a need to raise awareness about Alzheimer's disease and to honor all of the caregivers who support and care for loved ones suffering with it. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2022 as Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month in St. Charles Parish, and encourage all citizens to take part in the Longest Day campaign on Tuesday, June 21st, 2022, by taking the purple pledge and wearing the color purple on this day to show support for those who have been affected by Alzheimer's disease. We don't have anyone here today to accept this, but we will get it to the appropriate person. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. 2022-0142, a proclamation, St. Charles Parish First Responders Crawfish Cook-Off Day. Ms. Cooley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Proclamation, whereas the One Team, One Fight organization will be holding their 6th annual St. Charles Parish First Responders Crawfish Cook-Off Festival, it's a long word, on Saturday, January 4th, 2022, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Monsanto Park in Luling. And whereas everyone is invited to come and enjoy a day of delicious crawfish, music, and fun while supporting the first responders of St. Charles Parish. Now, therefore, be resolved, we, the members of the St. Charles Parish Council and the Parish President, do hereby proclaim Saturday, June 4th, 2022, as St. Charles Parish First Responders Crawfish Cook-Off Day, and invite all citizens to attend and enjoy the fun and festivities at Monsanto Park, 13,001 River Road in Luling. And in case you haven't been to this event, it's a great event for a great cause, and I certainly encourage everyone to attend. And we have Natalie Wright and several others to accept this proclamation.
All right, probably get this confused. Push, right?
Come on, you can do this.
Sorry, thank you. Hi, I'm Natalie Wright. We have fellow members on our board, and this is actually the groups that we support in our parish. We have fire department, St. Charles Sheriff's Office through the Fraternal Order of Police, emergency room, and EMS services. So it is a wonderful event. We encourage you guys to come. Thank you guys so much for all the support throughout the years. We are still looking for judges, so if anybody's interested in judging, we would love to have you guys for this family fun event. So everyone's welcome, and thank y'all again for all this.
Reports, Finance, Administrative Activities, 2022-0144, Information Technology. Mr. Ayo.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Parish President, council members, thank you so much for having me today. I'm going to wait till this comes up here, and I'll click over. But my name is Anthony Ayo. I'm the Director of Technology and Cybersecurity here at St. Charles Parish Government. So I'd be happy to talk about a little bit about what we've been doing in the past year or so. So here's a picture of our team. I already mentioned myself, but we have Eric Dufresne, who's our computer systems supervisor. We have Kim Cheramy, who's our information systems specialist. We have Abel Dufresne, who is our multimedia/GIS technician. This is the A squad here. They get a lot of stuff done, especially during Ida, when we were living in the EOC, kind of combating all the technology challenges that we'll talk about later. But couldn't do it without them. They are the backbone of this operation. Let's just jump right in and talk about 2021 and highlight some of the successes that we've had. A major, something that might seem small, but something that was very important from a security standpoint and recommendations from the federal government was the .gov domain transition. So we did that. Took a little bit of effort, but we finally got through it. You'll see later in the next slide that our .gov email domains will be transitioned in the following year. We did some major email security upgrades where we're filtering all of the links that come in through your email, vetting them for malicious attacks. We also looked at some network resiliency solutions. So we were looking at these before IDA, and IDA did us a favor and put us through the ultimate network resiliency test. So it opened us up to some opportunities looking at the Starlink satellite system, which was very helpful, and the DeGero system, which utilizes LTE networks and bonds them together. We were able to finish most of the data center project phase 1, which is the West Bank data center, and we've been migrating data center assets ever since. It's an ongoing project, but the actual data center build out was very important. We had to do a lot of planning last year because of some of the recommendations that have come from either the state, CISA with the federal government, or even our cyber liability insurance company, which was multi-factor authentication. So we did a lot of planning last year to get that executed, worked with a lot of partners to make that happen. We had no major cybersecurity compromises in 2021, which is a big testament to not only our employees in IT, but our workforce. Some of the trainings that we've been doing have been paying off. A few things have slipped through the cracks like any other organization, which we'll talk about later. But for the most part, nothing major. No major compromises, no data loss, no ransomware, so that's a big plus. So we had to do a design network infrastructure plan, which was what helped us budget, and y'all approved that part of that budget for us to execute this year. We also designed a network security suite upgrade, which is currently happening this year as well. I think we did a good job with overcoming some of the supply chain issues those really affected IT before they affected some of the normal stuff that we're seeing nowadays, because some of these things aren't produced here in America. So with working with our other people and organizations, letting them know we had to take the time to really plan out upgrades. So let's talk about IDA response briefly. It posed a significant strain on our resources, challenges mainly with communications. This was our Katrina that everyone says, but it was like I tell everybody, we felt like we were in an escape room, and as we got through the next room, there were new challenges that met us. But between our team supporting the staff and the staff being flexible, we had people working at the EOC that normally would work in the courthouse and vice versa. It was really good flexibility, and I'm really proud of what we were able to pull off under the circumstances. Exposed some areas of improvement, which I've mentioned on the back end of 2021, some of those alternate connection solutions, and encouraged us to look at expanded options for resiliency, which was like the DeGero device that I was talking about, things we didn't know about until Hurricane Ida hit. We're also looked to pivot to a cloud phone solution so we wouldn't be as reliant on Cox services, which a lot of people and businesses experience. I started having blue sky meetings, which are basically meetings with organizations that we need during an event like this, but not during a gray sky event like a IDA, when everything's nice and calm and we can schedule these meetings and talk about challenges and what we're doing to overcome them. So those are some things that have come out of Hurricane Ida response. Let's talk about cybersecurity briefly. In 2021, our SOC, our Security Operations Center, analyzed over 7 billion data points. We had over 1,500 investigations, 119 reported events, and of those 119 events, only 2 of them were compromises, which were basically end users giving up their username and password in some capacity. We have a SOC that tells me right away that there's something fishy, kills those accounts. We analyze it, review it. We do a total review of everything. Did they create a rule that forwards emails that say some certain phrase? We have to look at everything before we hand that account back over to that user, and we call it triage. So that was last year. We had 2 compromises. So far, I did a report for up to date. For the first 4 months of this year, we're having over 2 billion data points, 91 investigations, 26 reports, and 1 compromise. So not terrible. It's common. You can't control if someone gives up their username and password. Multi-factor authentication will help that significantly because you need 2 forms, not just a password to get in. Let's look at our goals for next year. Data center upgrades phase 2, that's going to go into East Bank, and those data centers will replicate, so we could lose one totally and be fine. We're going to be looking to move the .gov email migration, which is going to be a lot of work because, as you know, everyone has St. Charles Gov emails that have been around for a while. The cloud phone migration I mentioned, the security suite upgrades. We upgraded our patch management program where we can we can manage patches faster to prevent zero-day attacks, which are new attacks that people don't know about, vulnerabilities. The multi-authentication project will continue to expand in the other elements of our environment, and then also after our data center's done, we're going to do a penetration test to see how well we did when we build out that data center and test ourselves. And then we also are going to complete that major network infrastructure upgrade that we budgeted for in 2021. So that was a lot of technology and nerd talk. But I'll be happy to answer any questions. I do want to say how proud I am of our team and the IT department, and then all the employees that were just so flexible during the IDA. Everybody was real ready to get their work done any way we could provide that, and it was really a testament to how hard these people and these employees in St. Charles Parish work. So, and thank you for your support. You all always supported us really well, and we appreciate that. So. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Anthony. I think Ms. Fonseca's got a question for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Anthony, you mentioned the migration from the .gov emails. I'm just wondering what's the background on why that's necessary?
Yeah, so the federal government basically has recommended that the .gov is almost like, in layman's terms, the blue check mark for Twitter, It authenticates you as a government entity. Like right now, our EOC can't receive certain information in an email through organizations unless they have a .gov. You have to go through some extra authorization and authentication to even have a .gov domain. So we did that with the domain for the website. But because of the migration with all the email accounts, it will take a lot of time and effort and some logistics there. But when we do it, we'll still be able to receive emails to the .net email, and we'll have notifications warning people, like, please notice the update. But long story short, it authenticates you to make people understand that you're a legitimate government entity.
So our emails will be changing to?
Yes, that's the plan. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thanks for the background.
Absolutely.
Mr. Jewell.
I just want to echo what Anthony said about his team and thank him personally as well for all of his hard work during Hurricane Ida. You know, everybody was running around like chickens with their heads cut off during that time, just all working on a particular mission. But one of the most important missions was to restore our communications. And the day after the event, the only thing you could use was a sat phone, and that was kind of spotty as well. But just proud of how creative they got with reestablishing our communications, and just want to thank you and your whole team again. And I know that that event has showed us that we can be stronger, and I think you saw from Anthony's report that's what we're moving forward to being stronger, and hopefully making our communication stronger for those dark sky events, as Anthony said.
Thank you.
Anthony, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate everything y'all do. Thank you.
2022-0145, Department of Planning and Zoning, CZM, Mr. Albert.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for allowing me to talk about the department. Thank you, Parish President. I'm representing the Department of Planning and Zoning. We are responsible for the land use planning, coastal management, code enforcement, and permitting aspects. We're really 4 departments wrapped up into one. I'm not sure if you all are aware, but it has been a very busy past year for us, maybe busier than any in recent memory. In terms of accomplishments, the adjacent lot runoff ordinance was a long time in coming. Everyone kind of chipped in on that. We worked with the council and the community to get that taken care of. We fixed a long-standing issue with vehicle regulations and commercial and industrial uses. We've had a very successful outreach on the comprehensive plan. I'll talk more about that later on. And the emergency response to Ida was outstanding. The department, the employees really stepped up and did far more than was asked of them during that response. And I will, again, go to that in a few moments. So the department structure has not changed in a few years. We really are stable at this point, except for the fact that Earl is not here tonight, and Earl is now in drop. He is plotting his eventual retirement. So in terms of stability, we are currently working on reconfiguring how coastal is treated and dealt with planning, and kind of succession planning with Earl for what comes next. Construction permitting, this is where the numbers start hitting. Over 3,000 permits last year. And that's really, about double the number of permits that we get in any given year. That's a direct response to Ida. Most of that is renovations, people coming in after the storm. We went through every possible effort to make sure that the community and residents had an easy time. We're not overburdened with paperwork. We did all of the legwork for the residents. They needed to give us their email, tell us what their project was, and we started the process along. And if there was something else to get, we would deal with that later, but they were in the system. And South Central really came through. They were in the initial days after the storm, when people were getting back into their houses and starting to figure out what was going on. There were a number of instances. I know Ms. Councilwoman Fonseca worked with us, where we had people asking about structural damage, and we were able to get inspectors out to take a look at that. They did the same thing for the parish. They were in our buildings making sure that they were safe prior to bringing employees back in them. In addition to that, we are still chairperson for the Building Code Council, which holds a lot of sway in terms of the budget for how the building code program is dealt with. Major subdivision activity, we're coming out of the moratorium. We had a couple things in the pipeline. River Place Estates, River Road Estates, lots of rivers. Those were all dedicated and finalized. Heather Oaks was under construction during 2021. That has subsequently gone to dedication, as has the second phase of River Road Estates. And with that one, we have started the administrative process for construction plan review, and that has gone very well. We've gotten everything taken care of on that, and I think it's really improved the process overall. Land use applications, it's about the same from what we've seen in the past couple of years. We are still seeing the uptick in home occupations. There's more people staying at home, the whole COVID situation. We'll see if that changes in the next year now that people are back to work, but for the time being, that has probably been the biggest change in what we've got going on. Variances are still kind of high, and what you're seeing is requests for flood variances, especially in Bayou Gauche. It's difficult for us to deter that, but I think some of the neighborhoods where those infill lots are coming in are starting to fill up to the point that may trail off next year. Code enforcement, they were both busy and, they were constantly busy, but it wasn't always code enforcement cases this year. If you'll notice, the complaints received and complaints resolved are vastly different. When the storm came in, a lot of things like grass cages had to be closed immediately because, it was kind of a moot situation at that point. So a lot of things that were lingering from the previous year were closed until we could get a better look at what was going on in the parish. We did God's work, removing 6,496 signs telling you how and where to get your roof repaired. It's quite a bit of, I did not do that. Yeah. Not me. But, code enforcement is back to, they're in neighborhoods. We are progressively moving through the types of structures we're dealing with. Right now, if there is a visible hole in a building still that's not covered, we're not getting contact with the owners. We are taking those and making code enforcement cases and putting them through the process. So, as residents are rebuilding, we're also doing our part to make sure that those neighborhoods get back in order, especially if someone's left or hasn't been back since the storm. Comprehensive plan update is going very well. We are actually in the writing phase. Most of the initial work is done. They are drafting. We are actively reviewing those drafts. I expect within the next 2 months or less, we will have a version of the written plan taken out to the public and to the commission for the last round of public input and discussion with the Parish Planning Commission. The chart you see up there, we're getting some good information on all kinds of data. That's the job flow. So number of people coming into the parish on any given workday and leaving the parish in terms of where the employment is and what we're doing. Coastal zone, I'm taking Earl's place on this tonight. Coastal zone was a little bit slow this year. There wasn't a whole lot to talk about. 13 permits issued locally, which is kind of the biggest deal. That's the function of the program right now, is to make sure that residents seeking those permits are able to do that in the parish and not have to go out of Baton Rouge. The contract for that's up for renewal this year. Hurricane Ida was clearly the event we dealt with for the majority of the year, at least through workload. We started off the day before the storm with the assisted evacuation. We were up and running with this. We got people out, got them to safety. There was a number of people that relied on this service. We fully staffed it, worked with EOC, and got this up and running and got people where they needed to be safe. The staff was very good and very compassionate in taking care of this. In addition to that, once the storm had passed, Our guys, and we have a few all-wheel drive vehicles, we were out in every neighborhood doing damage assessment and delivering MREs and water. Every parish planning and zoning truck was full of supplies. When we drove through, we were handing them out. The guys were coming back and telling me and telling Mr. Palamone where things were needed, what communities needed help, and we were, I mean, not first responders, but we were out there helping where we could. We did the initial damage assessment, and the numbers up there are proof of how hard we were hit. They pretty much line up with what the assessor's office came out with. You know, ours are a little bit rougher because it was an initial thing. You know, sometimes we'd see trees on a building, and you know that would be counted as major damage, but the trees actually hadn't pierced it, so when it was cleared off, you know, some things cleared up in the coming weeks. But over 14,000 structures with damage, 900 of those with major damage, and 450 or so that were considered to be destroyed. This is ongoing work, and one of the things that is still challenging, both for residents and for what we have to do. Under the NFIP, we are required to report on substantially damaged homes, which is where the damage is exceeding 50% of the home's value. If those homes are below base flood elevation, they are required to elevate to that. That is a monstrous challenge. We have done everything possible to minimize the effect. We have worked with the council. The administration has been on top of this from the beginning. We brought the flood maps back to the effective map, suspended the DFIRM. We have gone out of our way to go back through our records to find elevation certificates, initial building plans, wherever we could clear people from these lists so they didn't have to do anything. We did it for them. To that end, 969 properties at the start of it, 87 removed because we had things on file. We put out 2 rounds of letters so far, and that has brought us down to about 600 properties still in question or without a response. So if you're hearing this and you've gotten a letter from us at some point in the past couple months, please respond, please call and talk to Earl, and we will work to get you off of this, because while you're working with us, we have some leeway to deal with this. After us, it's the federal government, and we lose a bit of control in how that process goes. I met personally with Debris Tech today on a demo program that may do a great deal to assist with this. Out of the 400 properties that they have on their list, it looks like 75 people have signed up for that or have initial interest in it. So we may be able to get some no-cost demos and lot clearings taken care of with FEMA assistance. We have been working to make sure that this disaster did not continue on after the storm went. We, as a department, have recognized the challenges that, you know, that we're facing with the initial wind disturbance and the insane tie-in with flood requirements that is bringing us into those substantial damage issues. But, you know, looking at the numbers, the amount of people that have come in for those renovation permits, the number of blue tarps that have disappeared in the past couple months, the community is very resilient. We have done a great job as a community getting back and recovering, and I think the numbers show that. And I'm very proud of the department and the employees specifically who have contributed to that. Thank you for your time tonight, and if I can answer any questions, I'll be happy to.
Thank you, Michael. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairman. Michael, I'm gonna thank you and your office for all the work they did. Like you said, they did duties that were far beyond their job description, and like you said, to go as far as literally handing out supplies to people in different areas of the parish who did not have access to transportation, delivering to people's homes, finding out what people need. We appreciate that. And I appreciate y'all going through and working to get the parish cleaned up. Obviously, with people who are still, the real disaster that is still lingering is this fight with insurance. There are so many people who are still fighting to get their insurance money. And I appreciate our office's especially Michael, for working with those folks while they're in the process of getting their homes rebuilt. Michael, I just want to mention one thing and just get your take just on for the council. The assessment of homes built within the last 10 years versus homes built before the parish had a permitting office or adopted any kind of any kind of building code standards. What would you say is the difference there?
Thank you for bringing that up. You know, the adoption of building codes it's a post-Katrina aspect of life in Louisiana, and it does challenge some people because they get frustrated about what the code says. They've built things one way all their lives, and now the code's telling them they have to do something else. But you can clearly see the difference in structures that have been built post-building code and pre-building code. Older neighborhoods had far more damage than newer neighborhoods. There were some very clear examples. I mean, the racetrack on Highway 90, the Hahnville Fire Department, both of those buildings had expansions done that were pre and post building code. And racetrack was half destroyed, the fire department was half destroyed. It's very clear visually that the building code makes a difference, keeps people safe in their homes, and minimizes the efforts that we're talking about here after the fact.
Ms. Cooley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank your department and administration for supporting the extension of the waiver on the permit fees. I know it's extra work for your department, but I think it's valuable that you're willing to do that for our residents. So thank you again for that.
Ms. Gordon.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Michael, thank you to you and your staff. But one question, many residents are now seeing the signs coming up, the red and white signs coming up. So many residents think that the parish wants their property. So exactly what does the sign mean when it goes in someone's yard? Which I know it could be for many different reasons, but does it mean that the parish want the property, or what are you all pretty much asking of the resident?
I absolutely guarantee we do not want anyone's property. That is a cost that we have to factor in. We do not want. We've created programs to get properties out of parish hands. Those signs are an attempt to get your attention, to get you to talk to my department, to get you to talk to the inspectors, to let you know that there is a problem, because we can't come to a mutual solution without the resident participating. So when those signs go up, we have to give proper notice that there is an issue, okay? But more importantly, I mean, we solve most of our code cases without going to Mr. Oob's office, without going to court. We're able to work with people to get these issues taken care of. The inspectors are really good at assisting people, directing them to, lawn services that can help them out, debris services, helping them get their building permits done. But those signs, which are required, are really an effort to get someone's attention. And we are considering hiring another inspector for the coming year. Like, the workload that they've taken on has grown. They're responsible for finalizing permits at this point as well. So, they go out in the field and check, hey, this permit says it's closed. Is all the work done? They'll mark that out. With everything that's going on, it may be the appropriate time to bring in a sixth inspector to assist with that.
Thank you, Mr. Albert.
Thank you all.
All right, 2022-0146, Parish President's Remarks Report. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairman. And let me just start. I have a couple of things that I'm going to start off with that aren't on my report. First, I want to introduce, I think Joe Crafassi is in the audience. Joe is with Senator Cassidy's office. Thanks for being here, Joe. And thank the Senator for having a representative here. Risk Rating 2.0. At the end of last week, I had a phone call conversation with FEMA regarding the modeling of Risk Rating 2.0 for the parish. As we all know, a lot of grim news coming out of that new policy. The purpose of our meeting was we found out that FEMA will actually recognize St. Charles Parish levies. The problem is that they're pulling their information from the Corps' levy database. Well, the Corps' levy database has completely inaccurate information in regards to St. Charles Parish levy systems. For example, they say the Sunset levy that goes around Bayou Goshen to Zalman's is 3 foot tall, when we know it's 6 foot tall and it's about to be lifted to 7.5. There were some inaccuracies in regards to the recently built Willowdale, Willow Ridge, and Magnolia Ridge levees. In fact, the modeling wasn't even accounting for the Magnolia levee system at all. We think this is a huge problem because if they're modeling storm surge based off of levees that are not present, I'm sure that model will show a different outcome. We made it very clear to them that St. Charles Parish has never flooded from a storm surge event, and that we are more protected now than we ever have been. And I also reiterated to them, I basically asked them to put themselves in the shoes of our residents. For the last 20, 30, 40 years, they've done everything that they're supposed to do. They built the FEMA standards, they pay their flood insurance rates. They even decided to tax themselves to build levees to protect themselves with the promise that if we got 100-year protection, the flood insurance rates would go down. And what does FEMA do? They go ahead and move the goalpost because they said, hey, we were actually looking at this all wrong. So who pays the price for FEMA looking at things all wrong? Of course, the people they are supposed to be protecting. So just based off of what we talked about, they said that these changes, which we're going to work with the Corps of Engineers on making sure they have the correct information and then working to get that plugged into FEMA, will reduce flood insurance rates under risk rating 2.0. They will not be lower than the old NFIP program. So they're still going to be higher, but they may not be as high, especially for the areas like in that Magnolia Ridge section. So this will have an effect. We don't think this is the end-all, be-all, obviously. But while Congress is working on a solution, we're going to do everything we can at the local level to make sure that their model is accurate and reflects our real risk. And I'll just say that we're going to continue working with them to ensure that, and we're going to keep pushing to make sure that their model includes not only the levees but the pumping stations that have been added. We want to make sure that they have the appropriate amount of marsh between our levees and our lakes and the coast, because we know that every 1 mile of marsh knocks down storm surge a foot. So again, we're going to keep pushing on that. I'm sorry I didn't have like a slide dedicated to that, but I thought about it here before the meeting. The next thing that's not on the report as well is street lighting. We had a meeting with Entergy at the end of last week as well. Entergy is about 75% complete on the east and west bank. I took the opportunity to ride around the parish the other night. They've definitely taken care of some of my concerns. One of my main concerns was Paul Mallard Road. Between the subway and the fire station, they've got it lit up much better now. The other area that was also a concern was River Road on both sides of the river. We are aware of the lighting in the historical stretch on the east bank. Those lights are on order because that's a kind of a cast iron decorative lighting, as well as the lights at the front of Ashton Boulevard. Those are also decorative lighting. So just want to let y'all know 75% complete. We did have a conversation about whether to leave the vector lighting on Highway 90 versus going back to what they had, which was the long arm mast, which shines straight down. I'm going to get with the council members whose district that in, mainly Nikki and Julia, as well as the at-larges, just to get y'all's opinion on that as well. Would love for y'all to drive it and just see it and get your take on it. My initial thought is to go back to the long arms because you kind of get a little bit of that glare in your eyes. So, but I will reach out to y'all and get your take on that. We'll communicate that with Entergy. Now we'll go on to the rest of the report. So you can see some bulkheading go into Zalman's. This is a part of some money we got to do emergency repairs on the bulkhead. If you remember, after Hurricane Ida, this section of bulkhead was the most damaged to the point where it was undermining the road. So, and I would probably argue that this is probably the most vulnerable part of the parish when it comes to potential for storm surge flooding because the protection is at only 4 foot. This wall is going in at 6 foot and is going to provide not only protection from storm surge, but protection to that levee from erosion from all of those tide cycles. So we're glad to see that finally going in. Just some general updates on work that Public Works is doing. South Destrehan Drive in Francis, crews were investigating sinkholes that were popping up in the roadway and in the right-of-way. So crews are working on that. On Ormond, and then on Ormond Village, same thing. We had some sinkhole repair needed around a pipe, so you can see there. Pipe became separated. They made a seal around that and are fixing that. So just showing you kind of the different things that we're doing. This is on Kindler Street. We're starting to sweep ditches down there. Remember, we do have a project for Kindler and Paul Frederick, which is currently being engineered because of the flooding that we see on that street in our large rain events. So that project's going to include rerouting some water to different areas and making improvements to channels to get that water so it's not sitting on Paul Frederick and Kindler. But again, in the meantime, we are going to be working on making sure the profiles of those ditches and the culverts are blown out. On Paul Frederick, we're continuing to do street repair. This is asphalt patching. Again, that same project that I was talking about, that is a drainage project. Mike, if I'm not mistaken, it's also somewhat of a road project, redoing the road and putting in some subsurface in some areas that the road is getting undermined by the steep ditches. We also have some ditch digging going on in Norco, just part of our commitment to maintenance of our existing ditches. And this is along, I believe this is 6th Street and Clayton. All right, next is St. Charles Parish Day. Last Tuesday, we had an event at the Louisiana State Capitol where we hosted our administration folks from the governor's office, various folks from the governor's different departments, as well as our legislature and our staff members. This was a great event, and it allowed us to really showcase St. Charles Parish, not only our industry partners, but what do those industries provide, and it allowed us to really showcase some of the food that we have in the parish and just our total impact on the state of Louisiana. Okay. Oh, and let me just say, we want to thank our sponsors for this event. Everybody from Shell to DRC, Mullen, Randa, Valero, Bear, Dow, IMTT, Kospalich, Kongsberg, and Oxy, and I think D.A. Davidson as well, and Randa. So we want to thank them. And then we want to thank our restaurants who helped participate. We had Santos on the West Bank. We had Gonzo's Smokehouse, which provided some delicious barbecue, also from the West Bank. And then on the East Bank, we had the Seafood Pot, which provided some delicious catfish. And we had Frank's as well, which provided some excellent king cakes, our non-traditional king cakes, such as the wedding cake king cake, which was become famous. So again, thanks to the sponsors and thanks for the restaurants that came out. We did get a lot of compliments on the food. So, and I should say we're excited for next year that we're already figuring out a couple of different things that we want to do to help make that day better. Okay, Animal Control hosted a large animal rescue training class with 30 participants at the EOC on Thursday. You can see that picture on the left. And then they went out in the field in the afternoon and did some practice scenarios with dummy horses. They had a trail that was flipped over. I want to thank Gina for hosting this and thank our fire departments for participating as well, and thank Public Works for helping to prepare the area for this practice scenario. All right, Parks and Recreation. We have a bunch of upcoming events. Want to mention that the Fish Dat Rodeo is scheduled for Saturday, May 21st at the Bonnet-Carré Spillway Boat Launch at the lower guide levee side. The registration is open for all participants of all ages. May 19th, that is when that, I believe, it closes. And there are multiple categories, including bank fishing, and as well as categories for different types of fish. Summer registration is now open for the Oshner's Agility Sports Clinic, as well as our basketball camp, baseball camp, softball camp. Registration for this runs through May 31st, so please be sure to sign up. We've been running that on the channel as well as the website and and Facebook. The flag football clinic registration will open on June 1st, and if you want more information, you can visit scpparksandrec.com or you can call Recreation at 783-5090. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen there, we got the Cornhole League started back up, and they are excited. Last year we had 27 teams for Cornhole. This year we have 44 teams for Cornhole. So this event has grown tremendously, and we're excited to see that. It's always great to go on a Tuesday night and see so many people utilizing the community center. So if you're ever around on a Tuesday, go stop by. Maybe go play a game with some of those folks. They're very serious, by the way. They have their own bean bags and backpacks and jerseys and everything. Okay, Veterans Memorial Plaza. Again, we are selling bricks for our Veterans Memorial Plaza. The proceeds from those bricks not only pay for the brick itself, but the installation and for future events at the Veterans Memorial Plaza, as well as some small maintenance items to keep the plaza looking beautiful. It is $150 to sponsor a veteran on one of those bricks. And you can find the forms on our websites. The forms are at all of our local libraries. They're also in the lobby of the courthouse as well. So we welcome you to come and sponsor a veteran at our new Veterans Memorial Plaza, which we are hoping will be done by the end of June. Summer food program. All St. Charles Parish children under the age of 18 or individuals with special needs who attend a state-accredited school are invited to participate in our summer food program. This program is free of charge, and it will take place from June 6th through July 14th, Monday through Thursday. Our Office of Community Services, is the department that operates this. We've been doing this for many years, and it's a great event to keep our residents, especially our school children, who are at risk of going hungry or at risk of not getting a solid meal, keep them fed during the summer. So we're proud to continue that event. The EOC open house. So I hate to talk about it, but storm season is approaching. There's been a lot of chatter about GFS models and what can happen. There have been several storm seasons, probably the last 7 or 8 or so, where there has been a small tropical disturbance or a tropical storm before the start of hurricane season. But with that is hurricane preparedness. We recently had Hurricane Preparedness week, where we put out a bunch of great information for our residents. But we really want to give our residents an opportunity to come to the EOC and see what happens, not just during a storm, but during, let's say, a severe weather event like a thunderstorm where we have to issue a tornado warning, or what we would be potentially doing for some other emergency event. So this event's going to be on June 14th. It's going to be at 10 a.m., and we'll also have a 6 p.m. for our residents who work and want to come after work. Again, a 10 a.m. event and a 6 p.m. event, June 14th, and that's going to be at our EOC. We're going to have refreshments, and we'll have our team there to talk about all of the great capabilities that we have at the EOC and highlight just every aspect, from drone technology to weather stations to emergency sirens. So with that, we have job openings. We have carpenter, equipment operators 1, 2, 3, and 4, grass cutters 1 and 2, groundskeeper, laborer, pump technician helper, shop mechanic helper, wastewater tech 1. If you are interested in working for St. Charles Parish, please contact the personnel office at 985-783-5000. Lastly, I'll give an update regarding our new trash service. I will say that they've had a few kinks when they've started. They're going into their 3rd week. I had a phone conversation today with the leadership of River Birch, just reiterating our expectations for this service and kind of highlighting some of the issues that we are seeing on the ground. I want to thank the contract monitor's office. They've been great. monitoring Facebook, monitoring the phone calls that have been coming in, and working to resolve issues. And I'm happy to answer any questions regarding that, but it does look like the service is getting better each and every day as they're working. The GPS is now working in the trucks, which was not working in the beginning. We are working on getting streets that weren't showing up on GPS into the GPS system, and that's been showed to make the service much more consistent. So happy to answer any questions, and with that, it concludes my report, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Ms. Cormier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to go back to NFIP. So glad to hear some good news on that front. I know we've kind of done this before. We've been through this same routine with FEMA, unfortunately, where they've given us bad data where we can put our eyes on it and we can see what's there, but their maps say differently. I know you say you're working with them to try to get them the correct data and to get them the correct modeling. What does that mean? Does that mean an in-person with someone coming here, or does that mean we're transmitting, the data we have electronically? And before you answer that, I'll tell you why. We'd hit milestones for years when it came to challenging their maps. And they would say, okay, you hit that milestone, we have to come there. We have to come to St. Charles Parish and sit down in person with you and look at it and put our eyes on it too. But we don't have the money to come. And so we wouldn't get that benefit of that challenge as we went through that process. So are they coming here anytime soon?
Yeah, I'll get you an answer on that. Our last conversation that we had was basically them saying, we understand that you think this is incorrect, and we're willing to fix our modeling. We're willing to recognize these levies. And part of what my confusion was like, you're recognizing Willowdale, Willow Ridge, but not Magnolia, and they're all built to the exact same standard, and which is the core standard. What they've said is we have to ensure that the surveying of the levee, the profile that we're giving them is in line with the core standards, which we believe it is, because before we do substantial completion or final acceptance, those folks come in and certify that the entire levee is at the agreed upon elevation. And we believe that the Corps has this information. This was all a part of their chief's report. It's in the chief's report. It's actually notated. So we don't want to spend any money on redoing any of this.
Yeah, they have it.
Right.
We've
and
provided this time and time again.
So we have a contact with them, and we are going to go, myself, Sam Sholey, Mike Palamone, we're going to go sit down with that contact. We're going to make sure that he has everything he needs. Once we can get a confirmation on that, we're going to turn that over to FEMA. We were supposed to have an in-person meeting on Friday, but unfortunately it got changed to a Zoom. But if they don't want to come to us, we're going to go to them. We're going to make sure that they have it. And like I said, I'm not saying that this is going to be some sort of golden egg that's going to somehow make the flood insurance affordable. But if we can knock off just a little bit, for the time being while Congress works on a fix, we're going to do everything that we can on our end.
I mean, we passed a tax, a parish-wide tax. The residents said, yes, we want to build core standard levees. We built them, and now it's a slap in the face. So even if it's this much, it's still, I guess it feels a little better for them to recognize what's there. Did you mention Earl was going to be in that meeting?
Yeah, he will. He will. And he was on the call with FEMA as well.
Delay his retirement as long as you can until this is fixed.
Oh, well, we got some things planned.
All right, good news. Thank you.
Ms. Belloc.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I basically just wanted to say, give a special thanks to the sponsors that helped out for St. Charles Parish Day, because we had 5, and I wanted everybody to know that. We had 5 that stood up and helped to support us for our St. Charles Parish Day, and that was Mullen, Randa, DRC, Kongsberg, and IMTT. So thank you.
5 in your district.
In my district, yeah. Thank you. That's it.
Ms. Cluley.
Just a quick question. The summer meals, it's just Monday through Thursday, not on Fridays? I realize that.
Let's see. Yes, Monday through Thursday. And that's, again, June 6th through June 14th, so a little over a month of that.
Ms. Gordon?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. In reference to River Birch, how close should a garbage can be to the road in order for the lift to pick up?
Yeah, so the truck has the ability to come out and grab something. So it does not have to be on the edge of the roadway. It can be off the roadway several feet. Obviously, what the main thing is to make sure the handles are facing the house and to make sure that that it's 3 feet from any other object that you don't want picked up by a garbage truck. And I will mention that for our residents at home, I don't know where this information came from. It didn't come from us and it didn't come from River Birch. Your can does not have, the lid on your can does not have to be completely flat. It can be slightly open. In fact, I usually end up putting a bag on top of my trash at the last minute, and that lid is leaning on top. So if you have, your can is completely flat and you have a bag next to it, go ahead and toss that just into the can and containerize it. That's the surest way to get everything picked up. But again, we see it improving. We're seeing the amount of complaints start to go down, and areas that, that weren't serviced are now being serviced. But again, we want you to reach out to St. Charles Parish if you're having an issue. And you can reach out to 783-5000. You can call the contract monitor's office, or you can send a message, to us via Facebook, or you can message the parish president via the website. There's a way to do that as well. So all of those, we take those, we track them, and we're sending that to River Birch. They have a dedicated team just for St. Charles Parish. So it's not like you have a team of people working in Jefferson or Lafourche and they're spreading out their time. They have a dedicated team for St. Charles Parish.
Matt, there was some information that came out earlier today that was saying that River Birch was telling residents to call the council office. I think Michelle took a lot of phone calls, and I think we all got a few emails and that. Did we get that kind of cleared up? Are they?
I had not seen that. I can definitely call them. I don't think they would say that unless maybe unless they might have confused it with the contract monitor's office.
Okay.
I have not heard anybody from River Birch say that. In fact, I'm sure if River Birch hits a call, they're gonna take care of something themselves as well. We have a contact for for the council members to email them directly. I can get you that contact after. If obviously, more than welcome to pass your complaints on to Chandra, but if you need a contact for any other thing with River Birch, we have a contact. His name is Louis Lazama, and we'll get that information to you.
Louis has been great. He's been really, really great. So, thank you, Mr. Jewell. Ordinance resolutions introduced for publication, public hearing, Monday, June 6, 2022, 6 p.m., Council Chambers, Courthouse, Hanville. 2022-0143, 2022-0150. Ordinances scheduled for public hearing, introduced at a previous meeting. 2022-0131, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of a professional services agreement with Danny J. Abair, P.E., LLC, civil engineering consulting engineers, to perform the engineering services for the Department of Recreation West Bank Bridge Park improvements in the amount not to exceed $274,570. Mr. Foray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the council, Parish President Jew. This actually gives us finally a chance to get a holistic view of our park and develop a master theme design to create a wonderful first-class facility here in St. Charles Parish. We'll be starting out with our first phase on the older section of the park, which exceeds 35 years old, and the part that suffered the most damage. So we're holding back on fixing that now, saving them funds, waiting for this report to come out, lead us in that direction. This contract gives us the ability to add 2 turf fields that many of us have talked about for a long time, add new fencing, new pavilion covers, bleachers, tennis courts, and pavilions that are aging. And then once we do that, look at the drainage first, then do that, and then move to the second phase with feedback from our council, administration, and our residents to see where we need to go from here. So I would answer any questions you may have, and I'd ask for your support for this very important project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Foray. File number 2022-0131 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Ms. Cluley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Foray, I think I had talked to you before on this, and it's a substantial amount for the engineering, and you explained to me that it's multi-phases.
Multi-phase projects from beginning to end. So it would, if it takes 3 years, it would be the entire 3 years. We think it may take a little longer by the time he does his study on drainage, looking for the needs of our parish, and that may mean changing some of the aesthetics and some of the amenities that we have in place now.
Right. Well, will the construction begin before all the engineering is done, or are you going to have all the engineering?
No, all the engineering has to be done.
One thing that I did ask was about a fairgrounds that possibly behind the community center, and you said that that's not going to happen.
Well, I said we can talk about it. I didn't say exactly that it would not happen. I said at this point in time, we pretty much have a conceptual drawing of things we want to happen there. First phase of that is a beautiful Veterans Memorial Plaza. The next phase of that is a spray park here for the West Bank that's been a popular amenity on the East Bank. And then we look to add on some of those things we're doing. And then funding comes into play, you know. So we have a lot of needs, and we want to be conscious of the taxpayer dollars going forward.
And I appreciate that, and I think this is great that this is happening. One thing I would like to see reviewed is possibly a walkway between the community center and the Bridge Park, because everybody's having to walk in the street. They either park at the Bridge Park for an event at the community center or vice versa, and I just think that that's a safety concern. If we could somehow fit that in our budget, I'd appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2022-0131. And that motion passes unanimously. Next up, 2022-0134, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of a contract with Lakeview Construction and Development, LLC, for the Ashton Park Development Restroom Facility in the amount of $371,488. Mr. Foray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the council, Parish President Jew. This building will take the place of the portalets that were always intended to be a temporary solution as we were designing this park. And I want to add, it was a point of contention with the Homeowners Association when we did it. We believe this adds a tremendous amount of value to this park and our residents, and we kept the spirit of the Ashton Homeowners Association building requirements when we did the design and the layout of this facility. Those designs were sent to the Homeowners Association. We did not receive any letters of objection from them about this particular facility. So again, I would ask for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Foray.
Thank you.
File number 2022-0134 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Council Chair. Roy Martin, 210 Browning Drive in Luling. I'm here as part of the St. Charles Soccer Association, and we just, as an organization, would ask for your support for accepting this ordinance to go through for our to help benefit our program and our kids in our program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. If there's anyone else who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Patrice Jones. I know 139 Horn Street, Hornville, Louisiana. I was just wanted to know, amongst all of this planning, is there any planning for the neighborhoods in Luling or Bootsy or Colony or that would benefit our families and our children?
Ms. Jones, there is a master recreation plan that Mr. Foray has a committee on, and it's chaired, each one of us appointed somebody to it. So the particular district you're talking about or your area in that, I'm sure he'll be more than happy to sit down and let you talk.
Okay, well, I would love that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Does anyone else like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, seeing none, public hearing is closed. Any council discussion? Ms. Belloc.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just wondering, the 371,488,000, is that all for a restroom?
That's a multi-use facility. It's a restaurant, concession stand, and storage.
Concession stand and storage.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to note, I think we've been budgeting for this project for 7 years,
It's 6 or 7 years, and
every
we've
year
put
I've
it
put a
off.
little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And, the residents of Ashton said, sure, we would love, a soccer facility, but we would really ask that there's some permanent facilities. And we're making good on our promise now, 7, 8 years later. So I think they'll be very pleased with this. And this just shows you, to my fellow council members, what you can do if you squirrel it away little by little every year. And I appreciate the support, and glad to see this finally come to fruition. Thanks.
Any other council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2022-0134. And that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Foray. 2022-0138, an ordinance to amend the 2021 Consolidated Operating and Capital Budget to adjust beginning fund balances to actuals and to adjust revenues and expenditures in the various funds. Mr. Dusum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, this is our final budget amendment. This officially closes out our 2021 budget. As you may recall, we're required to come within plus or minus 5% of actual, so that's what this amendment does, is basically puts everything at essentially the actuals that was spent in 2021. So appreciate your support.
Thank you, Mr. Dusum. That'll actually be 2022-0136. Okay, file number 0220136 is now open for public hearing. If anyone would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Any council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2022-0136. And that motion passes unanimously. 2022-0137, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of change order number 1, final, for the St. Charles Parish West Bank Trailhead Parish Project number P180603 to increase the contract amount by $1,767. Damn, I almost gave Foray more money. You're running away, huh? $1,761, and increase the contract time by 168 days. Mr. Palamone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The project was a $406,000 project and a little bit more, but this change order, the final change order, got some 168 days combination of some fabrication lead time and then some COVID issues regarding manpower to complete the fabrication, including 30 days delay for Hurricane Ida. The amount of $1,767 was for an additional 19 square yards of sidewalk that was added once some field conditions were exposed during the construction. Public Works and the administration ask for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Palamone. File number 2022-0137 is now open for public hearing. Does anyone like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name Your address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Is there any council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2022-0137. And that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, next on agenda, 2022-0138, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of a professional services agreement with Geo Engineers, Inc. to perform the engineering services for the Oxidation Pond Highway 3127 project, number S190902, in the amount not to exceed $67,285. Mr. Gianaris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, this is to do the geotechnical, so really soil borings for the property that we're planning to do the pond on 3127. So I ask for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Gianaris. File number 2022-0138 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Is there any council discussion? Ms. Cluley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Who's the main engineer on this, or has one been a contractor?
WSP is the main engineer that is handling the overall construction or design. Geoengineers just brought in just for geotechnical evaluation of the property.
As a parish contractor and not their contractor?
Yes, it's our, yeah, we're doing it under us.
All right.
So we'll get all the information, we'll supply it to WSP once we have got all that information.
Any other council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2022-0138. And that motion passes with 8 yeas, with Ms. Cormier being out of the room. 2022-0139, an ordinance to amend the St. Charles Parish zoning ordinances of 1981 as amended, Section 10, exceptions, modifications, Item H, to include manufactured homes as a temporary emergency housing unit type and revise the standards. Mr. Albert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You all remember a few weeks ago when FEMA came and spoke to us about the emergency housing situation and the fact that there's a mismatch between what displaced residents currently need and what our code allows for, and the discussion that, you know, rezoning a property is potentially permanent, and we wanted to explore other options when dealing with this. Parish President Jewell had discussed the possibility of tweaking the existing emergency housing options in the code. And what this ordinance does is it simply allows for another housing type to be used in these emergency housing special permit uses. So instead of it just being recreational vehicles, manufactured homes, commonly called mobile homes, would be allowed to be used. What we did in preparing this was take the standards that exist in the mobile home district and apply which of those were applicable to this type of development. We imported those from existing code, so we didn't do anything beyond what already exists in other parts of the code when addressing manufactured housing. And we revised two other aspects of it where we found that there was no basis for the numbers, the 5-acre limit on the sites and the 100 unit. I think the 100 unit aspect actually didn't, the math didn't add up to like what size spaces were allowed. So anytime when we have numbers without a basis in the code, we tend to remove those. And if the desire for any of these temporary housing developments is to have a limit on them. That is something that the Planning Commission can impose on any given application based upon the site and the appropriateness of the location. So the tool to limit the size is already there, but not having a basis in the code was something that, if we're going to do this, needs to come out to.
Thank you, Mr. Albert. There's a revised version to the proposed ordinances on page 70 in your agenda. I need a motion and a second to accept the revised version of the proposed ordinance. I have a motion by Ms. Fonseca, second by Mr. Gibbs. Any council discussion?
It's with how it's numbered. They just changed the parentheses or dot.
It didn't match up to exactly what's in the existing code, so we just formatted so Muni Code could read exactly what the changes would be.
Textually, nothing's changed.
Is there any council discussion on the motion? Please cast your votes to accept the revised version. Ms. Fonseca, Mr. Gibbs. Okay, the motion to accept the revised version of the proposed ordinance passes with 9 yeas. File number 2022-0139 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Patrice Jones. I know 139 Horn Street, Holmville, Louisiana. I just wanted to get a clarification, so I'm just trying to understand. So is this like the land that has been maybe grandfathered out, that they'll be able to use that land to put temporary mobile homes or whatever on in the case of an emergency situation like a hurricane?
No, well, yes and no. There's no grandfathering involved with what's being discussed. This is for if someone applies to establish a temporary location for emergency housing. There are limits in the code for how long it's allowed to be there already. Nothing in that's changing with what we're doing or proposing here. It still starts at 18 months and has options for extension. But
Okay.
it is,
The reason I'm asking is because during Hurricane Ida, we have a piece of land in our family, and I applied to put a mobile home on the land to bring my critically ill husband home to die. And I was refused by the planning and zoning because the piece of land had been, it was a piece of land that my mother-in-law had a mobile home on. And when she took the trailer off, she lost her grandfather status by not putting something back on. And so we were denied the opportunity of doing that, and unfortunately, he passed away last month. But the reason I'm saying it is I want the council to understand that sometimes in situations as those, like it wasn't any fault of our own, you know, I understand people don't want things certain places because of their property value. But nobody's property can replace their life. And to be denied of that fact, you know, just to put a roof over his head, for him to come home and die by the parish that my family has been here all my life, I've been here all my life, is very hurtful. And I just can't understand why it was denied. I mean, you know, because it was a situation where it was temporary, it was an emergency situation, it was explained. And I think that sometimes y'all have to look at the things that we as constituents are dealing with. Everybody can't just, you know, we just don't have it like that to be able to have a piece of land to put it on or another house to live in or you can go live. We just need y'all to pay more attention to what we are actually going through and the things that is going on in our communities. And I don't think that that's too much to ask because we are all here and we all have to live here. And so I think y'all need to do a little bit better with making sure that the constituents in your parish who need things and they're reaching out to the parish in situations, you know, that I know the parish has the authority to help with, y'all should.
Ms. Jones, would you like some extra time?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't even realize I had one. I'm sorry. That's all I need to say on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to come up and speak regarding this item? Please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Council discussion. Ms. Fonseca.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Jones, I think what Mr. Albert didn't mention is what this is doing is adding the possibility of having a manufactured home as temporary housing. The code before did not allow that. It only allowed recreational vehicles, RVs. So this is a step in that direction to where in the future you would be able to apply for a special permit to do so, to do what you wanted to do on a temporary basis, if I'm not mistaken. Mr. Albert?
It wouldn't necessarily be like on an individual lot. It's a development. It's really for like a whole site for when an agency comes in to do this. It's not a site, like a unit specific.
I would just say that
This doesn't restrict. I didn't read in here where this restricts.
No, but I think
height.
Michael's correct in saying that this ordinance speaks more to group sites and not individual.
It doesn't say that. So if that's the intention, then we need to clarify that here. Because it looks like anyone could come and request a special permit for that purpose. And if we need to, need more time to look at it for that reason, we can do that.
It's in the, yeah. Councilwoman.
Here, it speaks to more units, but it doesn't.
Oh, sorry. It's a matter of the definitions. This all relates back to the initial definition on where these are allowed. And it's defined as a special community designed to temporarily accommodate multiple temporary emergency housing units.
Where is that?
It's in the larger portion of the ordinance. It's it's not being changed, so it's not in the stuff that's in front of you right now.
So it's in detail that is not in our agenda. Okay. Now, granted, I understand that the size requirements and the restrictions as far as some of the restrictions listed may preclude an individual homeowner, but if the intention is just for a FEMA housing site, we just want to make sure that's clear. Okay. Thank you. Oh. The other thing I wanted to mention was I appreciate you putting the requirement that the access road be constructed of porous aggregate material because that's the first thing I looked for. We want to make sure to minimize drainage impacts in any way possible. So thanks for that.
Yes.
Ms. Cooley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I kind of understood that similarly, that the mobile home could be used in place of a camper on a damaged home site, but that's not the case, right?
No, ma'am. There's a.
It's
simply
not.
put,
Okay.
no.
All right. Okay.
Ms. Cormier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree. I was under the impression that this read very differently based on what I read in the ordinance. And I thought this was intended to address some of those residents like Ms. Jones, that maybe couldn't get a permit or didn't have an RV or the other types of temporary housing that were being permitted in the parish for some temporary housing. So I thought this was to address, like Ms. Cooley said, to put maybe a mobile home in the place of an RV and on somebody's private property as temporary housing. If that is not the case, and it doesn't seem it is, I respectfully request that the administration please look into some sort of ordinance as we're going into hurricane season to address that. I know there are still some residents that don't have the ability, based on our code, to put their temporary housing unit, whatever it may be, outside of an RV on their property, and they're still forced to live outside of the parish. There are a handful of them, but it's still happening, and we need to prepare as we go into this new season that we may have this happen again. We may have mass destruction, and it may happen again. So I would request that you all please look into that and try to figure out what we need to do in the code. I would think it'd be some sort of emergency portion of the code as well. So happy to be a part of that if anybody needs some insight. So,
Ms. Gordon.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Michael, so this isn't, as Ms. Honor has stated, when she came in to apply for an application in order to put a trailer on the property that they own, so she would not have, if this passes, or she would not be able to put a trailer on because this is a FEMA group site and not an individual property.
Correct. Everything that we were doing in this ordinance was to expand what was allowed on group sites. Since the storm, due to a variety of safety and zoning concerns, mobile homes have not been allowed to be placed in zones where they are not otherwise permitted. There's fire safety requirements. Mobile homes are generally considered to be permanent structures. There's utility connections that have to be set up for them. While mobile, they are permanent structures, and then there are a variety of legal issues that come after that with what to do when, when they need to be removed.
Yes.
Because you could have a neighborhood where there are no mobile homes, one gets placed there, and if we were to lose a court case, that would become permanent. Right.
Okay.
I'd like to defer, I'd like to go after Councilwoman Fisher Cormier.
thank you. I just want to go back to that comment about the mobile homes. As we explore this option, hopefully we will, I'm sure there's some sort of parameters we can put. And I think this is really spawning from some FEMA-issued temporary housing that didn't fit our code description of an RV, maybe. So I would think as we move forward, we can put some sort of parameters on it. It's not going to be a double wide, maybe. Maybe we don't allow, put some size requirements on it and some other requirements on it. But I think we've got to figure out a way to allow some in between for that temporary housing for emergencies. Okay, thanks.
Mr. Jewell.
Yeah, I'll just say we've been very upfront and honest about this from the very beginning since the storm, that the parish council lifted the zoning or just lifted the zoning on allowing travel trailers to be connected to utilities in someone's front yard. Under normal circumstances, an R1A property, you can have a mobile home in your yard or in your driveway, unless your covenants or your local HOA says no, you can have that in your yard. Once you connect it to utilities, Michael, am I right about this? Once you connect it to utilities, you're in violation of the R1A zoning. That portion of the zoning was waived to allow for temporary housing in after Hurricane Ida. You have over 600 trailers right now on R1A properties throughout the parish. Some may be on other types of properties, maybe an OL property in there too, but the vast majority are on R1A properties. And I've said many times that we are allowing mobile homes within the parish, but again, they were only being allowed on properties that were already zoned for mobile homes because of the requirements that Michael stated. Many people's properties the R1A properties cannot accommodate a house and a mobile home on them, and the mobile home ends up stacked on top of the house or across the property line or any other various issue that we've seen. Again, after the meeting we had with FEMA present, I said that we were going to bring an amendment to the Code of Ordinances to allow the use of mobile homes as a special use permit within the code for emergency housing. So I guess the point would be that if in a situation in the future, and even now, because we know FEMA is still actively putting these things out, situation in the future, we would have a special use permit to allow for mobile homes for families who qualified, who might not be able to have one on their property, but would be eligible to go to a group site for the time being while their property was being repaired. And that's, again, is what is in front of you all today.
Any further council discussion? Okay. We close the public hearing. If we can get a motion to open the public hearing? No. No. Okay, council discussion is closed. Please cast your votes for file number 2022-0139 as amended. And that motion passes with 9 yeas. Next on our agenda, persons to address the council. 2022-0148, Mr. Lewis Logan III, Marley Robinson, and police brutality. Mr. Lewis, please note as it pertains to the subject matter of your petition to address the council, the St. Charles Parish Council does not have jurisdiction over St. Charles Parish Sheriff's Office, the Sheriff's Office employees, or the St. Charles Parish Office policies. In addition, as it pertains to this petition to address the council, the Home Rule Charter does provide for citizens to address the council. However, it makes no provisions for initiating debate, discussion, or question and answer sessions with your council members or the administration officials. Mr. Logan, you'll have 5 minutes to speak.
One, thank you so much for accepting my petition. Thank you, President Jules and the City Council, for your work for our city. Days before Mother's Day, some of our youngest children in St. Charles Parish witnessed their mother being chased down by a police officer, thrown into a trailer, punched 3 times and arrested, and then given a plethora of charges from misdemeanors to felonies. As a community, we know that is wrong. As far as what we did to fight as far as NAACP, we were able to get her home before Mother's Day to spend time with our children. That should not be the case. We should not have police come into our communities and beating up on our residents and beating up on our mothers, especially in front of their children. I know that you all don't have any jurisdiction, but at the same time, as City Council, we look for you all to protect us and keep us safe. We are demanding for oversight committees to be put in place for citizens to address our concerns. We're looking for an independent investigation for proper use of force, and we're also looking for the firing of Deputy SEALs. I would like to give my time to anyone else like to speak on behalf of the community, to stand up and say that this is wrong and we need to make changes as soon as possible.
Mr. Lewis,
yes. You
were the only one that petitioned to address the council, so at this time, according to the Home Rule Charter, you're the only person that can speak.
Anybody tell me something to tell to the council? We ask you please conduct an independent investigation due to the contradiction in sheriff responses to the actions of the officer. We would also like to know why, from the president to the city council, no one has addressed the situation that occurred. As far as the officer brutalized Ms. Robinson.
Repeat that question again.
Ms. Robinson is here, and we'd like to know why no one has spoken out against the sheriff's comments or spoken up for why this is wrong. We are trying to prevent such attacks like what happened in Buffalo after seeing bad policing. And in all honesty, our children are watching, our children are listening. And I really feel like it's important that we show them that our government is not going to let just anybody come and abuse their citizens. We have a right to be safe, we have a right to live, and we have a right to, in God we trust, enjoy their children's lives. There's no reason why every child has, either they want to be a police officer, a doctor, or something of that sort. But for a child to see that type of brutality occur, what does that do for our children and their thought process on what a police officer really does? That badge is very important. That badge shows they're superheroes of most children. And they should want to be asked to come help. But a lot of times our children or adults and citizens are scared to ask for help if they're going to feel like the police officer is going to turn their backs on them or abuse them for things that aren't necessarily.
Mr. Lowe, would you like some more time?
Yes, please.
I have a motion by Ms. Cluley and second by Ms. Gordon to extend Mr. Logan's time by 3 minutes.
Thank you.
And that motion passes 9 yeas. Mr. Logan, you have an additional 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Tonight they approved $867,998 towards parks improvements in the parish. IMTT, West Bank, Ashton for toilet. Yeah. These are all the projects. Add them up. They have the authority to allocate funds to improve the quality of life. And after we request that you allocate funds immediately in the same amount for parks at Paul Frederick community for our kids and a community center.
Our children deserve a better quality of life. We've seen several different projects of money's been allocated to all these different projects, but we would also like to have the authority to allocate funds to improve the quality of life in these communities, our communities. We request you allocate funds immediately in the same amount for programs in Paul Frederick community as well as Kelowna and other communities in our area, in our community. St. Charles Parish, I believe, is one parish. I believe that every part of the parish should receive as much support as possible to ensure that they have an enjoyable life. No child should go without, no family should go without. This national community cry out in both anger and sympathy. We wonder how such things are allowed without recurse. The response by the St. Charles Parish Sheriff's Department was defensive, deflective in nature, and outright misleading. Statements were made that contradicted video evidence released through Facebook and Instagram. It saddens me to see the leaders of this city have to be asked to protect the citizens from such actions. What steps can the council take in this matter according to bylaws.
Mr. Logan, your time's almost up.
Let's not wait until this happens to your house or your family, or to our house and our families. We just want peace and love for all families. Thank you for allocating more time. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you, Mr. Logan, for coming. And like I said, the Home Rule Charter provides for every citizen the right to come address the council. That's what it is, as long as the petition follow the part of it, and I appreciate that. The support you brought, Richard, is amazing, right? So I'd like to thank everybody who took the time to come to the meeting tonight, show your support for this.
Thank you.
Appointments.
Excuse me.
Council members.
They can't do, they can request them. Okay. Ms. Bellick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a really hard thing to talk about when you hear about police brutality, or what we think is police brutality. My first question I'd like to ask to Mr. Lewis, have you reached out to the sheriff's office? Have you set up a meeting to talk to the sheriff's office?
Yes, ma'am.
Because that's where I believe you need to be. You need to be protesting there. You need to be, all these people need to be in front of the sheriff's office. Okay?
Understood.
The second thing that I said, you need to find out where this officer, how long this officer has been there, here in St. Charles Parish working. You need to find out how many complaints this officer has previously had, or if he's had any. There's a lot of work that you need to do before you go to the sheriff's office and protest. That's where it needs to be. Now, when you come here just to let the community know, because you're on TV, and to let the council know. But there's really not much that the council can do to help you as far as guiding or having the police officers do something with them. We don't govern them. So that's where you're going to have to take this in front of them. And all these people that showed up, they need to be with you and more. All those things that I just told you, you need to do your work and bring that all up to them.
Yes, ma'am.
Or get the double ANCP, get all them. You need to get all them with you.
That's actually
Okay.
Me, and I was the investigator. We do know how long he's been here. We do know about the complaints. He actually left Jefferson Parish because he knocked out an African-American female there who was hiding.
Okay. Well, Mr. Lewis, that's what you need to do. Because the council is really, we can't help you. We can't do anything.
Ms. Gordon.
Ms. Gordon? They're not going to say that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to ditto from off of Councilwoman Bellock in reference to what she has stated as well. We are a separate entity from the sheriff office, and I know a lot of people may not want to hear that, but we are a separate entity. We don't run as the city does. The sheriff is elected, just like we are, so he has his own department. Why we as the council was not there, I guess everyone has their own reason, but because it's the sheriff department that handles it, so if it's anyone that would have spoken, it would have been a representative from the sheriff department would have spoken out to you and also to the NAACP. And Ms. Robinson, I'm sorry for everything that you and your family have gone through. I just want to give you a hug because what I saw on TV. Nobody can go through the pain that you and your family went through, what we saw on television, what we saw on the video. I don't want anyone to go through what we had to witness and what you actually saw. So I'm just sorry for what you went through, and I just want to give you a hug.
Anything y'all can do to help would be amazing. If you can't do it directly from your positions, any help would be awesome and thankful for.
I just wanted to touch on a few of your questions that you asked and on the support part of it. In 2021, this parish council, with this parish people sitting up here, passed a resolution to acknowledge that St. Charles Parish opposes the use of force by any law enforcement agency within the parish against any individuals engaged in nonviolent civil rights demonstrations and supports applicable federal and state laws against physically barring entrance to, from, a facility or location. Again, we'll tell you, it is the fact that the Sheriff's Department is a different entity, and like Ms. Billock said, you have a resolution of support. And what you have here tonight, if you go talk to the sheriff, you have the same support, I think that's where it needs to start at. But we have a resolution barring that. So, again, I appreciate you coming in tonight and coming in, and all the support you have with you.
Thank you.
Appointments, 2022-01-115, a resolution to appoint a member to the Hospital Service District Number 1, Parish of St. Charles. The council will confirm the nomination to fill vacancy caused by the expiration of the term of Mr. William J. Sermon III, a 6-year term to begin May 22nd, 2020, and expire May 22nd, 2008. Our nominee is Mr. William J. Sermon III. Please cast your votes to confirm the appointment of Mr. William Sermon III to the Hospital Service District Number 1. And that motion passes with 9 yeas. (2022-0119), a resolution to appoint a member of the St. Charles Parish Planning and Zoning Commission as a District 1 representative. The council will confirm the nomination from the District 1 council member to fill the vacancy caused by the expiration of the term of Ms. Marilyn K. Ross, a 4-year term to begin May 31st, 2022, and expire May 31st, 2026. Ms. Marilyn K. Ross is our nominee. Please cast your vote to confirm the appointment of Ms. Marilyn K. Ross to the St. Charles Parish Planning and Zoning Commission as the District 1 representative. And that motion passes with 9 yeas. 2022-0120, a resolution to appoint a member to the St. Charles Parish Planning and Zoning Commission as a District 6 representative. 7, I apologize. Council Chairman will accept the nomination from the District 7 council member to fill a vacancy caused by the expiration of the term of Mr. Scott M. Galliano, a 4-year term to begin May 31st, 2022, and expire May 31st, 2026. This was deferred from the May 2nd council meeting. Ms. Cormier, do you have a nominee?
Mr. Chair, I respectfully request another deferral.
Okay, we'll defer that to the next meeting. (2022-0147), a resolution for the St. Charles Parish Council to commence the appointment process of a representative of the New Orleans Aviation Board by selecting 3 proposed appointees and requesting the mayor of the city of New Orleans complete the process for the approval of 1 appointee to fill the 1 New Orleans Aviation Board position scheduled to expire on June 30th, 2020. Okay, so of course we talked about this at the last meeting and during the settlement. This is a process that we need to do. So, a nomination for appointee 1, 2, and 3 will be requested of the council shortly. Should a council member wish to nominate an appointee, please request to speak. The first member to request to speak will be called upon to state a nominee. Each nomination will be voted upon individually until 3 appointee nominations pass. I need a nomination for the proposed appointee number 1. Ms. Cormier.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate Mr. Gary Smith Sr.
Okay, Ms. Cormier has nominated Mr. Gary Smith Sr. Please cast your votes for the proposed appointee number 1, Mr. Gary Smith Sr. And that motion passes with 9 yeas. I need a nomination for the proposed appointee number 2, Ms. Belloc.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to nominate Mr. Billy Woodruff.
Ms. Belloc has nominated Mr. Billy Woodruff. Please cast your votes for the proposed appointee number 2, Mr. Billy Woodruff. And that motion passes with 9 yeas.
He don't want it. Yeah.
I need a nomination for proposed appointee number 3.
Anybody? I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Coleman.
Does the person have to be qualified? Nope.
I'm going to defer that to our legal counsel.
I'm not quite sure what Ms. Fisher, Ms. Cormier is.
Maybe the person has not been out of office for 2 years?
That would be something that would have to be considered on whether you can even qualify for that appointment.
I mean, I don't think what they're telling us, just give us 3 names. Right. They don't necessarily have to be qualified. They can decide that on their end, right? So the mayor's office could say, oh, this person's automatically,
Whether they would be unqualified because of that would be an issue. I would say could possibly be an issue.
It'd be an issue for us or for them?
I think when the mayor is considering the nominations, they should look at all the qualifications. Our only requirements provide 3 names.
That's it?
Yes.
I mean, literally, that's it.
Mr. Gibbs.
I'd like to nominate Ricky Bosco.
There you go. Thank you.
Gino and Julia.
Mr. Gibbs has nominated Ricky Bosco. Please cast your votes for the proposed appointee number 3, Mr. Ricky Bosco.
I was going to say Johnny Martin.
I mean, just somebody that doesn't. That's ridiculous.
And that was 9 yeas. So Mr. Gary Smith Sr., Mr. Billy Woodruff, and Mr. Ricky Bosco have passed as appropriate appointees. Proposed appointees are to be provided to the mayor of the city of New Orleans to complete the process for the approval of one appointee to the New Orleans Aviation Board. File number 2022-0147 is now open for public comment. If anybody would like to come up and speak regarding this item, please do so now. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Any council discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes for file number 2022-0147. And that motion passes with 9 yeas. Thank you. Meetings, announcements, notices, etc. Meetings, Library Board of Control, Tuesday, May 17, 2022, 6 p.m. in the council chambers. The Board of Adjustment, ZBA, Thursday, May 19, 6 p.m., council chambers. Hospital Service District Number 1, Wednesday, May 25th, 2022, 2 p.m. in the council chambers. The Housing Authority, Tuesday, May 31st, 6 p.m. council chambers. The Lafourche Basin Levy District, Wednesday, June 1st, 6 p.m., Lafourche Basin Levy District Office, 2130 Highway 20, Vacherie. Planning and Zoning Commission, Thursday, June 2nd, 2022, 6 p.m. in the council chambers. And the St. Charles Parish Council, Monday, June 6th, 2022, 6 p.m., council chambers. Parish holiday is Monday, May 30th, 2022. That'll be Memorial Day. Please note that there will be a 3-week lapse between council meetings. Our next regular council meeting will be held on Monday, June 6th. Special matters to be considered by the council. 2022-0149, a resolution appointing an official journal to serve the Parish Council of St. Charles Parish for the period of June 22nd through 2023. Please cast your votes to authorize the advertisement for acceptance of proposals for the official journal appointment. And that motion passes unanimously. I need a motion and a second to adjourn. I have a motion by Mr. Dufresne, second by Ms. Fonseca. Please cast your votes to adjourn. Mr. Dufresne, you have to vote. You're the furthest one on the end of the cable, huh? Okay, I hope everyone enjoys the Memorial Day holiday. We are forever grateful for the ultimate sacrifice of those who died for the United States of America. May their courage and dedication never be forgotten. And that motion passes unanimously. We are officially adjourned.
Beginning in June, St. Charles Parish will see a redesigned water bill. We have made some improvements to ensure reading your bill is easy and clear. A box at the top has been added to clearly show the amount due date, and what amount would be due should you pay your bill late. Below that, we have outlined your account history to reflect your previous charges, most recent payment, and total account balance. We have also outlined all the ways to pay your bill, which include in person, pay by phone, or online at www.stcharlesparish-la.gov/waterbill. The consumption chart has been moved to the top left of the bill and has been updated to show consumption history in gallons. Lastly, we continue to outline your itemized charges in a chart illustrating all services, including water, sewerage fees, garbage fee, safe drinking fee, and any other related charges. The Department of Waterworks staff remains committed to assisting residents and can be contacted at 985-783-5110 if you have any questions regarding your bill.
When emergencies happen, we want you to be the first to know.
But if we can't reach you, we can't alert you.
That's why we need you to register for our new emergency alert system, SCP Alerts.
Signing up is easy.
So text SCP Alerts to 888-777 to get our messages.
From weather-related updates and emergencies
to evacuations and more.
Sign up for SCP Alerts.
Because our first priority is keeping you safe.
In a natural disaster, severe weather, or local emergency, we want you to know what to do.
Through SCP Alerts, we can help you be prepared and stay safe.
Text SCP Alerts to 888-777.
When you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Sign up for SCP Alerts today.